So this was supposed to be a mid-year top 10 best figures so far for 2022 video, but we're now way past that point. With San Diego Comic-Con over, I think most people now are looking forward to the next 5 or 6 months, or probably even past that, since so much was revealed in the last week or two, and a lot of those releases we won't see until 2023. Anyway, I've been pushing this video further and further back and really wondering if it was still worth putting out, but everything was shot and ready to go, and for me personally, this is a great chance to talk about some figures I don't usually review, or I guess have the chance to talk about on the channel. This actually might be the first time for me to include figures from other lines other than Dragon Ball Figuarts in a top 10 video. Obviously, I love the Figuarts Dragon Ball line. It's my main source of joy when it comes to this hobby. But for this belated biannual countdown, I thought I'd mix it up a little and include some figures that were most enjoyable for me on a personal level. They might not hit all marks when it comes to being the perfect figure, but as for little 6-inch articulated bits of plastic go, these 10 figures, well, I guess more like 9, I'm kind of cheating with my last figure on this list, have been the most enjoyable for me on many different levels for the first 6 months of 2022. So let's kick it off with some Dragon Ball and its S.H.FIGUARTS KRILLIN 2.0 or 3.0. This guy for me is what dreams are made of. I never got the original, and a 2.0 KRILLIN was always high on my want list as far as 2.0 releases go, or 3.0 depending on how you look at it. Tamashii, in my opinion, couldn't have given us a better upgrade to a crucial character that I know a lot of collectors, including myself, missed out on. The aesthetics are spot on. The new articulation is a step up from the 2.0 bodies, which were already great in their own right. KRILLIN came packed with a ton of hands, swappable heads, and also included his iconic Kienzan. This release was just everything I wanted in a KRILLIN figure, and if this is anything to go by, I think Tamashii will continue to give us phenomenal upgrades to some of the older figures in this line. Let's go Future Trunks 2.0. So Superhero Piccolo might not be on many people's top, well, I guess anything, let alone top 10 list, but for me this one was quite a surprise and a figure that I enjoyed a lot more than I thought I would. It's a clear example of what Tamashii are capable of in terms of retooling a figure with newly sculpted parts, making it almost a completely new figure, whilst keeping that price tag down to a mere $35 US. Sure, it doesn't come as complete in terms of accessories as Piccolo 2.0, but what we get here are your essentials for a version of Piccolo that can be used for a superhero display, or of course pretty much anything else if you prefer the manga colors. The great thing about this release is that it's compatible with the previous Piccolo 2.0 release, meaning you can mix and match all your accessories, heads, hands, capes, even the feet if you're not a fan of the rounded boots this one comes with. But on its own, Piccolo is a lot of fun to pose, he looks fantastic, and I appreciate all the newly sculpted details that just takes this figure to the next level. Tamashii couldn't have easily just repainted the 2.0 and called it a day, but they went the extra mile and then some, something I hope Tamashii does with all their releases going forward. This is probably the best 6-inch scale MCU Endgame version of Captain America out there. Though we've had a few renditions from Marvel Legends and S.H.FIGUARTS, none of those even come close, in my opinion, to what MAFEX have given us with this release. The sculpt work and details are impeccable, though some might consider it a little clean to be a final battle version. I like to think of this as Cap when he suits up just before the final fight. I like the proportions when compared to the other offerings from Marvel Legends and S.H.FIGUARTS. This Cap is tall, heroic looking, and despite the overall general consensus, I actually like the broad shoulders. Capturing Chris Evans' likeness has always been a challenge for every company that's ever released a version of MCU Cap. I guess it's just something about his face that is really hard to recreate in 6-inch form. MAFEX definitely falls into this category as well, but this has got to be the closest we've ever gotten. There's definitely a strong resemblance to the actor, and while it's not perfect, it's still pretty damn close to me. When it comes to accessories, this release is just unrivaled. You get everything you'd want in an Endgame Cap release with a ton of interchangeable hands, an unmasked head, 2 shields, a lightning effect, Mjolnir, a spinning Mjolnir effect, and several clips and stands to attach those accessories to Cap. The shield on the back look can be a little bit finicky, sliding those clips in and out of Cap's shoulder straps, but the clean, pegless look you get is definitely worth it. MCU Cap has always been my favorite MCU character, so there was definitely a lot riding on this figure. I held out passing on the FIGUARTS and Marvel Legends versions, and after countless delays, I'm happy to say this release is definitely. The next MAFEX on my list is one that I wouldn't say was necessarily slept on, because I know a lot of people actually bought it, especially those who've been collecting the Dark Knight Return figures, but I also feel that it'll be a figure that might slip through the cracks when December comes around and it's time for people to reflect on all the incredible figures that they bought in 2022. It's a figure that I think a lot of people, while they probably enjoyed it, will probably forget about. Reasons being, 1, because it was released pretty early in the year, and 2, because it probably doesn't stand out as much when compared to other more highly anticipated MAFEX releases, like say a black suit Spider-Man. However, I really do think this has got to be one of MAFEX's best releases, not just this year, but ever. And I know that's saying a lot considering everything we've gotten and have been getting from MAFEX over the years, but I really do stand by it. The Dark Knight Return series from MAFEX has been consistently outstanding from the get-go, and every figure since that first black and grey Batman have proven to be solid releases, not only in the areas we all look for in a great figure, aesthetics, articulation, and accessories, but they have all been really good in terms of quality control. The Dark Knight Returns Armored Batman has all of these qualities, and for me exceeded all of my expectations. The figure captures Frank Miller's design phenomenally, while still being quite agile for its shape and size. I was a little disappointed that the Sonic gun was removed from the final production release, but it's an accessory that I think shouldn't be too hard to track down, which I intend to. This is a figure that I've kept on my desk since the day I opened it, and is just very easy to get distracted posing when I'm working. As I mentioned, the articulation is more than enough for this version of Batman, and for every other pose that, might be a little bit too tough for Armored Batman to pull off, the cape definitely makes up for it. I'm very much looking forward to adding Superman to my collection, and finally having someone for this big guy to face off against. I think Hasbro were quite close in making a definitive classic Captain America Marvel Legends with this release. Yes, it is basically a repaint / retool of the 80th anniversary cap, but the brighter blues, the new head sculpts, and the addition of the shield straps for his back really elevated what was already a pretty great figure. The new effect accessories were also a nice little addition to the release, and definitely made posing and taking photos of this guy a lot more fun. I don't even mind the holes on the shield. Hasbro were obviously trying to do something different, which is definitely appreciated, and whilst it would have been ideal to get 2 shields, I think this works just fine and I prefer the larger size. The articulation, unfortunately, at this stage of the hobby feels a little outdated, especially with the lack of butterfly joints and the old ab crunch, but it's still a lot of fun to pose around. I think even with the impending release of MAFEX's comic Captain America, which will more than likely be my end-all, be-all Captain America, Unparalleled Cap will always have a place in my collection as a fun, pick up anytime and pose around figure that I think captures extremely well the look and essence of Captain America. Now this one might come as a little bit of a surprise, but I really love this figure. To me, it's the perfect representation aesthetically of the character, with a beautiful new sculpt that is simple in design but goes heavy with the details. The lines on Shocker's suit are all sculpted in, and even the brown areas have this realistic leathery texture to it that I think gives the figure that little something extra. Yes, the figure does lack paintwork, which would otherwise take it to another level, but for me personally, it's something that I can and do enjoy doing myself. Again, I kind of have a disdain for the old forward and back ab crunch on Marvel Legends. I think all figures, especially in this day and age, should have a diaphragm cut as standard. The effects, which we've seen 100 times over now, are also a little lackluster, but despite these minor shortcomings, this was my favorite figure out of the Spider-Man retro wave. Even with Black Suit Spider-Man, in that lineup. Spider-Man is my all-time favorite comic book character, and that love extends to all of the classic villains as well. This was definitely the standout out of the wave, and I can't be happier to have and add another villain to my Spider-Man collection. So who loves the Bad Batch? And I know this might come as a surprise to some of you, but I do. And I'm just really happy that I can finally complete my original Bad Batch team. I've enjoyed every figure from this series so far. Every character feels unique and fresh, but fit together so well when you have them all side by side. Echo Light Tech is probably one that strays away most from the standard clone armor look in a good way, and I think what Hasbro have done here is probably given us the most well balanced in terms of mixing animated and realistic for this figure. With Hunter and Crosshair, I felt were a little bit more on the animated side, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but when I look at Echo, he infuses both of those elements a little bit better. I have to admit I'm not really a fan of all the holsters and pouches being stuck onto the armor like that. I much prefer what Hasbro did with the ARC Troopers, having these straps and pouches separate, but everything works and looks great. I thought the way that the helmet attaches was pretty creative, and I also like the inclusion of the extra arm attachment, which we didn't see in the animation, that in my own headcanon is sort of an arm cannon, a bit of extra firepower since Echo only comes with one pistol. I love clones, so my ranking might be a little bit biased, but Echo is definitely a unique take on that standard clone body. I really enjoy all the retooling that they've done with it. Individually, Echo, like the rest of his teammates, are all very solid figures, but as a group, there is nothing better than this. Keeping with the Star Wars theme, this next figure drew me in with just how well the head sculpt and overall aesthetics were executed. I think Hasbro has done an astounding job at recapturing Rosario Dawson's likeness in 6-inch figure form. It's a little bit glossy, but the details are there and done really well. A lot of the time I'm looking for third-party heads to replace the original, but with this figure, which, if you know me, makes or breaks a figure, the likeness is so well done, I think all it needs is just a bit of dull coat. The figure also has some very interesting articulation in the shoulders and legs, which are all well hidden, and you probably wouldn't even know was there when standing straight up in a vanilla pose. I would have liked a bit more movement in the torso, and I think the Leku could have been made from a slightly more malleable material to again allow just a bit more movement in the head. Still, Ahsoka poses very well and can pull off those more athletic, acrobatic poses she is known for. I think a soft goods poncho would have been icing on the cake, but as is, it's still one of my favorite Black Series figures. So back to Figuarts again, and here is an example of a character that I don't have any personal attachment for, even though I love the Toy Story movies. It's just a fantastic action figure that really took me by surprise, and for many, will probably sit in a lot of collectors' top 10 lists at the end of this year. Buzz really shows off what Tamashii does best in reproducing mecha-inspired animation characters to highly articulated, contagiously playable action figures of pure joy. This thing is so much fun and comes with an array of accessories that keeps you coming back to repose it or take another photo. It has a lot of potential for people who are a little creative with a camera, and is just a figure that can go with pretty much any display you want. For me personally, it'll be a figure I continue to include in many of my photos going forward, and just one that I'll have around when I feel like posing an action figure from time to time. Highly recommended, even if you haven't or don't intend on watching the movie. Like I said, this last figure on my list is definitely cheating, as Superhero Ultimate Gohan came out this month, and technically this video was for figures that I picked up in the first half of the year, but come on, this is Dragon Ball Figuarts, it's what I love most. I just had to have this one on my list, and it will probably still be on my list come December. This figure has done everything I wanted in terms of updating the old 2.0 body mold, the stockier body, the extra reach the shoulders get for those more natural Kamehameha or Masenko poses, much better ankle articulation, and newly sculpted hands that don't look ugly or boring. Yes, I hate those 2.0 hands, probably just as much as Saiyan armor ankle articulation. In saying that, I still enjoy the 2.0 body and it's still a great base figure, but I would be lying if I said that I wasn't excited to see every Goku or Gi wearing character see an update with this newer mold. Tamashii did an exceptional job with the head sculpts as well, though I will say they do differ ever so slightly from the promotional version Tamashii used in all of their marketing. Still, this is a version of Ultimate Gohan I have been waiting for a very long time. I love the purple Piccolo inspired outfit, and I am very happy Tamashii have finally given us an Ultimate Gohan that I feel is now worthy of that Ultimate title. So there we have it, guys, my belated biannual top 10 figures in no particular order or rank, just 10 figures I really enjoyed these past 6 months. Of course, I'd love to hear your top 10 picks for the first half of 2022, so do let me know in the comments. Again, this was more of just a chance for me to talk about figures that I don't really usually review, and I know I don't collect every action figure line out, but for the very select lines I do collect, these were definitely the standouts for me. It has definitely been a great year so far for action figure releases from pretty much every company, and there is still a lot more to look forward to for the remaining of 2022. A few figures come to mind: MAFEX Black Suit Spider-Man, MAFEX Dark Knight Returns Superman, Marvel Legends Retro Wave Lizard, S.H.FIGUARTS Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, and Imperfect Cell, just to name a few. I'm sure I forgot some bangers, but I'm really looking forward to revisiting this list at the end of the year. Again, let me know your favorite figures so far for this year. I'm looking forward to reading all of them, and I'll see you all next week for another, I guess, archive review. I think. I'll have something for you guys. Anyway, take good care of yourselves out there. Be good to your mums, and as always, yoroshiku!